Hey, Instagram. Welcome to another edition of Tuesday Tips Live. Today is our final installment where we're discussing personal accountability. And I am super excited because today we are going to have the amazing, the wonderful, the beautiful Priya Shah on our Tuesday Tips Live. Priya is the founder and executive director, CEO, queen, goddess, grand poobah of The Simple Good. You can find The Simple Good at thesimplegood.org. The Simple Good empowers youth all over the world to impact their communities positively as just by finding the simple good in the world. I'm going to have Priya tell us more about it. More importantly, we are going to talk to Priya about what it looks like to be personally accountable, not only how the simple good impacts, like seeing the simple good impacts personal accountability, but also how do you run a nonprofit? How do you maintain personal accountability? And how does your mission and your purpose inform your personal accountability? So Priya is with us now. I am going to grab her. Here she comes. Yes. Please hold, please. Here comes Priya. Priya's coming. Here comes Priya.
Oh, how's it going?
Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. How are you?
It's good to see you too. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing a little experiment and I'm just going to say it right out of the gate. I brought two chihuahuas to work today, which I have never done. And so I am hoping that they are going to be behaving for the next for the next bit of time. If not, it could get rough. It
No,
could get rough.
they join our couple. That would be dope.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, somebody might show up at some point, but right now they're still too busy sniffing around. Um, in any event, tell us a little bit about the Simple Good and why you founded it 10 years ago.
Yeah, wow, I can't believe it. It's really crazy. So our mission, like you said, you did a wonderful introduction. Thank you. So our mission is to connect the meaning of good from around the world to empower youth to become positive activists through discussion. So we use social emotional learning residency programs, bring to different schools and nonprofit in Chicago and to really challenge students to think about what does feel good mean in our lives and how can we use that to change the world. And our goal is really to use like assets, right? What everything that we need to create change in our world is already within us, and getting students to really explore that, see examples of resilience, also foster lives, and using art as a means to just express that understanding. At the end of every program, the students are challenged to create a body of artwork that represents simple good, and they face it at a end of program final show. And they talk about their meaning of the simple good and how they'll use it to change the world. And it's been a really powerful experience for so many students, but also myself, I and my own personal experience of now understanding, and I really my exploration all around. Worked at Mother Teresa's orphanage. I worked in some in South Africa and Brazil, and those are really powerful places. The power of resilience. What does it mean to really teach and learn resilience? And what I learned from actually the kids that I worked with, and seeing and acknowledging the beauty that's within us, around having that skill set. And that's what really kept our students, the kids that I worked with, resilient. And it felt like we don't actually talk about that, practice that, even on an educational level in our schools. And I really became really passionate about bringing that to especially kids like me, like, oh, a person of color in my community, that no one really looked like me, a woman in this world, and I'm also born with one hand. So at a very early age, I always felt I was being cut off and had shortcomings, possible. Therefore, it was hard for me to see my own. And so I really want, more kids maybe go through things that
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Priya, let me pause you for 1 second because wasn't sure if it was just on my end or if it's actually happening, but Alex is noting your sound cutting in and out.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Oh no, that's okay. Like I can hear you okay. What's happening is it's kind of popping, it's popping in and out a little bit, and I'm not sure what's causing it. But let's see how we go here for a minute. And then I don't know if you happen to have any earbuds handy. If you do, it's not as sexy of a look, but that's okay because you're sexy enough as you are, right? Like the earbuds aren't gonna do you any problem.
No, I don't have any, unfortunately, but if this doesn't work, I can definitely grab some.
Okay. So, well, the other thing that I'm wondering is if it's, and Alex, if you can just chime in at any point, because I know at one point we had somebody, and it seemed like they were cutting out, but then actually when we looked at the recording was fine. Anyhow, the glitches that come with Instagram Live, we roll with it. But what I was thinking about is, teaching people, especially kids, to find the simple good within themselves and to seek it in their communities and to seek it in the world. There's, excuse me, a sneeze coming. There's no better way to be personally accountable, right? Like if you're constantly looking for the good, then you are accountable to create good.
Us and the power that we and talents that we already have within us that we can also use to, take control of our path, where we want to go and really walk with purpose. And I think that's what really really understand ourselves and have that self-awareness and more than accountable to ensure that we are walking in the path that's true to us. And I think that's what creates accountability for, what we want to be and how others decide to live this life.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I still had a little bit of cutout. I thought maybe if I move my phone and I'm holding it in my hand now instead of having it that may just in case there was a reverberation. I don't know if it's possible for you to aim the mic differently. It's so funny because at some points you're perfectly clear and then it just
Let me maybe hold the phone with that. Maybe do I sound okay right
you
now?
sound great.
Okay.
You
I'm
sound
gonna
great.
I'm gonna hold it for now. If it doesn't work, I can just jump on and off and grab my headsets. I'm so sorry about this.
Oh no, you know what? I think whatever it was sitting on, it was reverberating against because you sound really good now.
Okay, perfect.
So let's roll with it. Let's roll with it. Okay, so let's see. What does still popping maybe a Wi-Fi signal? Well, we'll roll with it. Okay, we've got some people saying it sounds better. Thank you so much for chiming in. Also, this is a good point. A good point to make. This is alive. Okay, so two things. Number one, if you want to join in the conversation, please just add a comment, ask questions in the comments. Also, if you're watching this or listening after the fact, you can still comment on the feed or ask a question in the feed, and Priya can get back to you. I can get back to you if you have any questions about our discussion about the simple good, etc., etc. Sound good? Sound good? Sound simply good? I hope so. Okay, so Priya, talk to me about how the mission of the simple good informs how you put like personal accountability into action, like on the day to day when you're running the organization.
I mean, I think, yeah, this is really, what we do is not only an organization, but it's really a lifestyle and a movement, right? When we are really aware and gain that self-awareness, we also are better in tune to others. And that creates responsibility towards each other to ensure that we are moving in alignment with each other, supporting each other, especially as a team, to accomplish a goal and serve our youth and our communities that we serve. And that's really starts with finding good not only within ourselves, but within our day and and our goals that we have to achieve within our programs. And so I think it's just like a mindset that we always have instilled within our culture and everything that we do that not only holds, our, ourselves accountable individually, but also as a group. Because when you do look for good, you have no other excuse but to create it. When you look for the negative, that's what becomes an excuse to not actually produce. So I think that it's just kind of interwoven in everything that we do now.
Yeah, it really is. Everything is about attention, right? Where are you putting your attention? There are lots of places, there are lots of things that are not, good in the world, and we can focus our attention on those things. And it's not to say, what I love about the simple good is it's not about ignoring what needs to change. It's
Mhm.
about finding the simple good in order to create change.
Right. Exactly. Go, Melissa. You're my new brand ambassador. Thank you.
I'm happy to be your new brand ambassador. This is great. Um, what do you notice? How do you notice? What have you learned from the kids that you serve about personal accountability? How has that shifted?
I mean, I think I've always known that kids are just the most resilient things and beings on the earth more than adults, and I think that, this work can be very hard and exhausting, but every time we have a showcase or every time with our students, they're the ones that really ignite hope because they see this world in a hopeful way without adult intervention, right? It's actually adults that kind of come in with their hopelessness that can limit a child's possibility in seeing the fruition of the world. And so I think that it's just always so amazing to see how our kids continue and want to stay resilient. And if we actually think about it, that is all of us. I know all of us want to keep going, pursue the good, and want to find hope. And we just have to kind of also be true and authentic towards that, right? And realizing that for ourselves, we actually don't want to see the world in a bad place and we don't want to see our lives in a bad place. So we have to actually call it out and say, what we want for the world in the best light. And I think our kids are just so real and direct about it, and I feel like it inspires adults to do the same.
Yeah, yeah, because really we can't control. There are so many things in life that we can't control,
Mhm.
and so taking control of what we actually can, and putting our attention, finding areas where if then we can figure out how can we express this in our communities right now? Like, what can we do to bring this to life? And one of the things that I love is that it's not only the kids that are impacting the communities, but then you bring together artists, you bring together other aspects of the community in order to create more good, even like with City of Big Dreams that's coming up. How did that start to come together, this collaboration with all of these artists?
So this is our 8th year doing this event, and it actually started with just kind of a discussion of how do we really unite the arts community, even within the arts community across the different mediums of art. Artists don't really work together, and even if you think about, what you listen to, some folks think that they only listen to poetry, or some people are only dancers, or only musicians, only visual artists. But really, the inspiration that creates this muse for creativity to even exist is all the same. And that really is our human soul, right? And our vision for what we're feeling. And that's what allows people to create. And so, the idea was to really bring that all in one room together and use that as a way to exemplify the power of community. When you bring a lot of different types of people together, that's how you really create change, and that's how you really can create something beautiful that's moving. And so we tried it out one year, and it became the most powerful event that we do every year. So I'm so excited to bring it back in person this year at a limited capacity and just really allow folks to see the power of the arts and how it can really shift us towards the better.
I love it. I love it. And it's interesting because I don't know that people necessarily think about personal accountability and the arts at the same time, which, as a creative person myself, always cracks me up. Right. But like we think about personal accountability in terms of, okay, deadlines and work and our teammates and collaborate and all of that. But all of that happens within the arts. And you have to be disciplined and you have to be accountable if you're going to create something. It doesn't just, I don't know, sometimes I don't know if people think a magic wand is waved and then a piece of art appears, but that is certainly not the case.
Yeah.
So how do you see it demonstrated through the artists that you're working with?
Well, I think the nature of collaboration creates accountability, right? We're dedicated and committed to bringing our art and influences together in order to create something greater for the larger community. And I think that understanding and commitment in itself is something that all of our artists do with each other. Even after this event, many of our artists end up collaborating and doing side projects on their own because this is just, a way for us to develop something greater. And if we're both committed to that, that's what creates accountability in the creation process. My good friend David's on this live, and we work together to create something larger for the community. He's a photographer, and I'm everything else, I guess. So, just bringing our talents together to see what we can do. And because you're committed to that goal, I feel like that's what actually allows creation to even happen.
I love that. I love that. So, right, because personal accountability can have this feeling of like being internal only. And it seems like what pulls it forth and what calls it forth in people is actually this higher purpose, right? So whether it's the purpose and the mission of the simple good, or tactically like an event coming up or a showcase or a project that sort of allows that inspiration and motivation to really it sort of solidifies the good, and it solidifies your accountability to yourself, because you want to see that occur. You want to see this thing, whatever that thing is, this piece of good, you want to see it become tangible in the world.
Yeah, I think like when you are aligned with having a greater goal above yourself, like the becomes not only a personal accountability piece, but also a communal piece that like you just can't get away from. It's tied to something deeper. So I always try to find like, what is the larger purpose of anything that we take on? And, through that, it really sets you kind of in motion and in straight and aligned with why you're doing this.
Yeah. Well, and I'm also, another aspect of personal accountability that I love talking about is being kind, and being kind to yourself. And you are one of those leaders that just comes through with such warmth and kindness. And I'm wondering, what is it like for you? Like, how do you practice self-kindness, and how does that impact your ability to be accountable?
Ooh, that's a great one. I think that when you're in a habit of always trying to find good and recognize all the love that does surround you, it makes you accountable to give that out, you know? It's not like a one-way street. It's almost like it's a direct, necessity in order to receive all the blessings that are around you.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't actually give it out, you won't be able to receive it, whether they're in front of you or they're not. So I think like for me, I'm just so grateful for all the great energies the universe has surrounded me with forever. And it's almost a very natural thing to be doing that, not only for myself, but for others, in order to really receive everything that the world does give you. And I think sometimes we have challenge receiving these gifts because we are not really aligned with the things that are within ourselves. So.
Yeah, I'm curious what you would say, because there are, I mean, I don't think it's a singular issue. I think all of us at some point in time, we might have a hard time receiving or seeing the good, just because of a temporary circumstance. So, what would you say to somebody who is having a hard time in their life and isn't able to see the good? Like, what do you do to seek the good?
I always say that it's a temporary state and it's a moment of transformation, right? Sometimes when we are going through a very difficult time and things do seem dark, I always have a reminder that this is also temporary. This is
Mhm.
not forever. And there's going to be some lesson from within this experience. And to keep that in mind, that's how we're actually going to find what we need to learn from this, and what is the good from this that is going to come out of it. And just making sure that we understand it is temporary because there's something better for all of us. And that's what we really need in order to continue to exist. So I think that's, how I usually manage it, even for myself.
Yeah. And it's interesting when you're in the, oftentimes there is that stereotype, and sometimes, and it's a stereotype because it can be true, that when we're working in a nonprofit space or in a service oriented space, that it can become easy to focus on giving and not focusing on and not allowing the receiving as well. So it's I think it's important to notice that dance, right? Like is more energy going out and not enough coming in, and how do I keep that flow? I always think of like an infinity symbol going like this to keep that
Mhm.
flow going. What keeps you in flow?
Mm. I think it's really because I found something that is my purpose. This has been definitely a journey that I created that no one really thought that could exist when I first started it, and to stay true to it despite people's doubts makes you learn a lot about what it means to create and prove out your truth. Nothing comes in a short-term fashion, despite what media will tell you. It is a long journey, but I think it's meant to be a journey for a reason because it really is something that you learn from, not only, of the process, but about yourself. And I think that's the reason why it's sometimes so hard to pursue your passion because it's not something that's automatic. It is something that's a long-term thing.
Yeah,
And that's what keeps me in my flow is that I know I'm going to continue to learn, and I know there's more to learn, and there's something even greater if I keep going. And so it's just kind of my own mindset of what else is next, I guess, and just to
yeah.
keep going.
I love it. I love it. I found out about the Simple Good through Scott Fetters and the 2112 incubator space when he gave me, I've got a bunch of bracelets on, but you can see
Yeah.
I've got my Simple Good bracelet. It's there along with my Break the Glass Ceiling bracelet, a kid's bracelet, and then another sweet little bracelet that has a bunch of curse words on it that I love. Um, but it's just a good reminder to ground oneself in the simple good, right? Because it is, in a way, oftentimes we do need like little reminders. Now, founding an organization and having that be your purpose, that's going to be a daily reminder. Um, I'm curious, what else did I want to ask you? Well, I want to ask you, like, what can we expect for people who attend live City of Big Dreams? What can we expect? I'm really excited to hear about that.
Oh my God, you're going to expect all the arts immersed in your face all at once. And it's really going to be a positive, inspirational night that I think that many of us don't always experience when we go out for a concert or a performing art event. This is a very intentionally curated event. All the artists that I invite to have a part of this, not only as performing artists, but also the live artists, the gallery artists, or silent auction artists, they are all artists that align with our mission and really provoke positivity and hope through their art. So I'm so grateful that we have such an incredible, community of artists that are also dedicated to this work and also, use their medium to amplify this message within their own right. And so it's going to be a bombardment of all of that, in addition to just giving a really deep dive of our work and what we're trying to accomplish in the year ahead, which is to serve 500 youth within this upcoming school year. And as we know, this year has been crazy and it's going to continue.
Crazy.
And so kids really need, this reminder of the simple good, have the ability to express it and support, cope and healing process, not only for kids, but adults. And so, we want to just expand our reach as hard as we can so that just our future leaders that are coming up just within the next few years are going to be at a good space, to really change the world.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the phrase came up this morning in another call I had about raising good citizens, and
Mhm.
I feel like when one looks for the good in the world, there's an opportunity to find connection, right? And when we find connection, then we want to be accountable to that thing that we connect to, whether it's another human, whether it's an art form, whatever it is, right? We connect to that. And especially in a world where it does feel like that division does exist out there, we might not necessarily encounter it every day, but it's out there. It's good to look for that connection and to look for that good, because then that's what can stimulate a community. It can stimulate the growth. So
Mhm.
I love what it's all about.
and what you founded and what you like bring to life every day. I know when I was looking, I was like 10 years. I was like, that's amazing. It's amazing. Is there anything else around the simple good, around personal accountability, anything else that you want to cover that we haven't had an opportunity to cover?
No, I mean, I think just in general, this is just an amazing time for us to be resilient for each other and practice our simple goods, not only for ourselves, but for others. I know sometimes it seems like we're not still in a pandemic, but we are. And I think that we all have to collectively come together and do this for one another in order for
Yeah.
us to survive it. And so I'm really hoping that everybody can come together to especially support our kids and once you start practicing it for yourselves, you really understand why this is so critical for children experience right now. And that's why we're doing City of Big Dreams next week. So I hope everyone can be a part of our movement and make this possible.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, because there is nothing that helps you be more personally accountable than finding that goodness, finding it in others, seeing you just want to create more of it. You just do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, what we'll do is we'll put information about the event, we'll put information about the simple good, we'll put all of that in comments, and there'll be a link in the bio, all of that good stuff. For those of you who are watching at a later point, please feel free to put feedback, ask questions, leave comments, and Priya or myself will comment as well. So you'll get the information that you need. And Priya, thank you so much for the work that you're doing in the world. It is just, it's beyond inspiring. It's beyond it. It's what's funny is when somebody says the simple good is not easy. Let's just
Mhm.
put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, Alex has a question. We have a question. What tools do you use to hold yourself accountable? Like, what's a tactical thing that you use? A down and dirty tactical tool? That's a great question, Alex.
Great question. For me, it's just saying things out loud to my friends and people that are around me, putting it out in the universe so that it actually happens. Sometimes we hold back because we're scared it's not possible, and I'm totally
Mhm.
guilty of that, and I don't want to disappoint myself. But I think me saying it out loud to folks that are around me ensures that I will go towards, that path or whatever I'm going to be holding myself accountable to, because I know other people have now heard it, so I can.
Well, yeah. And not only have other people heard it, but other people then can have the potential to get involved. And then you can create accountability partners, right?
Right.
That's one of the big things that I find helpful is I don't do solo that well. I'm an extrovert. I like having a partner in crime. So when it comes to holding myself accountable, like having a partner in crime that's aligned with that vision, like your team, the artists that you're working with, well, you have to follow through because all of these artists are collaborating with you. You can't let them down. The kids are in a way our accountability partners because the kids hold you accountable. The
Yes.
community holds you accountable because they have an expectation that you're going to be able to provide the service to them, right?
Exactly. And I think like once you do continue to hold yourself accountable and you show the results of it, the bar only gets higher. So, it's just a higher level that have the capacity and possibility to achieve. So it's definitely a great thing being surrounded by community that doesn't makes you want to achieve your goals.
Yeah. So that's a big note to the people out there. Like personal accountability and creating good in the world, it's not a solo game, right? Like I think we have the opportunity to inspire ourselves and do it, and that has to come from within, but you're not alone,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? Nobody's alone. We like it, yeah. Yeah, I like kind of debunking all of the harshness that comes with the notion of personal accountability because it just feels like it should be to-do lists and outcomes and results and I'm not saying it's not, right? But in order to do those things, you need all this other support because otherwise, how do you expect it to get done?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I think it is always everything that we do is actually more community oriented than we think. And just kind of understanding who our community really is or who is the community that we want. And that also supports, how you hold yourself accountable towards it.
Yeah. I like what you just said there. Like, who is our community? And then what community do we want? So if we notice a need or if we notice a desire, then to seek out that community. Or if it doesn't exist, maybe create it. There
Yeah.
are,
And we're a part of so many different communities at once, and therefore we have this ability to impact it. We actually teach that to our kids, having a self-exploration activity of what is community and which ones are we a part of. And that really, allows you to understand your identity in a deeper way and how you can, who you're accountable to and how you can also make an impact within the communities you're connected to.
yeah, right, right. And then the different communities then expand our ability to connect with people that are different from ourselves. So, like you were talking about earlier, growing up, I'm a person of color. I was born with one hand. I've got like things that kind of might separate me from other kids. And so, what does my community? What do I want my community to look like? What is it? But what do I want it to look like? And I love how you've sought out communities globally to create the simple good, no matter, regardless of language or continent, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like I'm a global citizen. I think that we all are actually, and we're very much connected no matter what language or area we live in. And that's what that mindset is what has really allowed me to bring the simple good all around the world. And it's the most beautiful part of this experience to see all walks of life really share their simple good and how a lot of the times it's very much the same, whether I'm working in Rwanda or Uganda or in Chicago or New York, it's been it really affirms the fact that we are actually a lot more common than different, and especially during a time where everyone feels very divided, having this recognition is so critical in order for us to move forward as a global community. And I think that once we start thinking about that in that way, humanity, looking at humanity is, you can see it in a lot deeper, more beautiful lens, and that's what really gets me excited.
Yeah, well, and the global aspect of it, I'm so glad you said that because one of the things I wanted to comment on is just this natural need for belonging. Like as humans, we have a primal need to belong. And what is interesting is sometimes that need can separate us. Because if we feel a strong affinity for a certain group that we're in, it could be your college. I went to IU, so I love, go Hoosiers, go, right? Like I like to identify with that group, but I don't just identify with that group, right? Because then you can create segments of better than, right? Like, well, this group is better than that. I mean, you see it in sports in more of a fun way, but it actually is a thing. And the only thing that heals everyone, that unites everyone, is to see global humanity, right? To connect to and see the commonalities between myself and someone that speaks a different language in a different culture, that's grown up with different experiences. For me to be able to connect to something globally is what helps create the belonging. So it's the way through. It's how we can take this thing that's natural and innate in us, the need to belong, and amplify it to create more good.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's how we survive on this earth, is just with each other. We're not meant to live alone. And so I think we have to, recognize how we connected are. I feel like the internet is a great opportunity, but sometimes, we get not using this in the tool that really has the capacity of doing, which is, really connecting to the good that's within each other.
Yeah. So there's a challenge to everybody. Let's use our devices, our little devices, and our laptops and the internet and all that is at our disposal to create good and to see good and to seek out good. We don't need to doom scroll. We don't need to like share divisiveness. We can seek out the good.
Exactly.
And one of the things that I'm excited about is the event next week. So we'll make sure to put all that info in. And thank you again, Priya, for joining us for Tuesday Tips.
For sure. Thanks for having me, Melissa. I look forward to seeing everybody on Tuesday. Next Thursday. Oh my gosh.
I know the days, the days are still a thing. It's
Yeah.
still a thing to know what day it is. Thursday, October 7th. Chicago wins. Chicago wins. And actually, even if you're not, a lot of people that are tuned in aren't in Chicago, and that's fine too. You can still really, if you want a good dose of inspiration regularly, follow The Simple Good on Instagram, because it's a constant inspiration. Yeah.
Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Priya. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Nice to see
Okay.
you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.